And that's Grigoriev 1. That's from the 50 Etude book, edited by Johnson and Jacobs. Obviously, number 1, Moderato. Obviously, if you have a C tube, especially, this is a lot of fun to play. Really right there in the center of the instrument. But even if you're playing it on B flat, and I've toyed with this on F and E flat as well, still a fun etude to play right in the middle of the register. It does drop down a little bit there at the end, and it does get up there a little bit depending on where you're at in your development. But a great overall etude to work on. Biggest things to focus on, and again, depending on the edition that you have or how old or new your book is, you may have some of this writing already written in and annotated. But the biggest thing is we really want to focus on playing decisive, detached. I honestly like to treat it as if I'm working on Meistersinger. I didn't have my metronome going there, but it should have been close to 100, 104, so a little bit faster than what is marked in the etude itself. But I've been working on my orchestral excerpts recently. Obviously, there's a lot of jobs opening up, so I want to make sure that I'm fresh with those for when the auditions start to come in. But this is a great etude if you're working on Meistersinger. I would definitely work on this as part of your warm-up / daily fundamental routine before jumping into it. I mean, that's literally what I'm going to do when I'm done recording some of these videos, is start to work on my C excerpts. So, and Meistersinger will definitely be one of them. So really make sure you're consistently marked at the beginning. I think oftentimes we think of marcato as it has to be extremely heavy. We kind of have to punch it, at least, especially when I was younger. That was always my interpretation of that, where it just needs to be firm at the front. There needs to be a weight at the front, but we don't necessarily need to hit it like it was talking bad about our family or anything like that. Beyond that, it is marked forte at the beginning. I would definitely say use your best judgment with forte. I think a lot of times, and I know I've kind of gone through a self-reflection process in the last few months, and I typically play louder than I need to. That was probably my biggest critique of myself as I worked my way through 2019. Happy New Year, by the way. And I really want to make sure I focus on that. So even though it says forte at the beginning, understand the dynamics are relative, and we really want to focus more on making sure our sound stays consistent throughout the register. Yes, it's fun to play loud, and there are times where if you want to give it a little bit more, you certainly can. But again, it has to be predicated on the sound, consistency of the sound, and making sure that we're always making our best sound. from there, especially if you're beyond just being comfortable with notes and rhythm, really trying to hear and lock in pitch on these intervals is another area that we want to focus on with this. Especially if you're playing C tube as we get in that C up to that high A range, just making sure all your pitches are locked and relatively in tune. Obviously, if you want to throw a little vibrato like I tend to do sometimes to make up if we're not quite there, that's certainly acceptable as well. But it's a really great exercise and etude to ensure that we're locking in some of these intervals. So as always, make sure you're working with your metronome and your tuner to ensure that you're hearing and seeing and feeling a lot of these pitches and intervals that we're talking about. And obviously start slow, work your way up, but this is definitely a fun etude to really start digging into, especially if you're not accustomed to playing in the Grigoriev book. So as always, thank you for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff that people shamelessly self-promote on here. And as always, happy practicing.